Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Robin Hood moment. Over several decades, Robin Hood has remained the largest private funder of workforce development programs in New York City. We've helped some 200,000 New Yorkers gain the skills and job placements that allow them and their families to journey out of poverty. But as New York City emerges from the historic economic disruption caused by the pandemic, we're facing a startling truth. It has recently been reported that the gulf between Black and white unemployment rates in New York City is now the widest it has been this century, surpassing even the largest gap during the Great Recession. We have much more work to do, and the need has never been more urgent. I'm Crystal Cooper, Deputy Director of Communications at Robin Hood, and today we're chatting with Chymeka Olfonse, Managing Director of the Adults and Household Supports Program. Welcome to the podcast, Chymeka.
Hey, Crystal.
Workforce development is the bread and butter in the fight against poverty. A better job is one of the surest ways to put more money in the hands of New Yorkers who are currently earning too little to thrive. And as mentioned, we're in a particularly precarious economic moment. How has the pandemic affected the workforce landscape today?
To answer your question, Crystal, let me first provide some context regarding the loss of jobs during the pandemic. In 2022, over 48,600 New York City businesses actually closed. The city has experienced some recovery post-pandemic, but it's still actually down approximately 35,000 jobs. The recovery has not been equitable. Communities of color are still behind when it comes to job access and employment. For example, the unemployment rate for Blacks at this moment is 12.2% compared to the unemployment rate for whites, which is at 1.3% in New York City. So there is a huge disparity there for sure. And just one other thing to note, for those who are working, many of them are underemployed. They are in jobs that don't necessarily match the skills that they have. So some people may have college degrees, some people may have advanced certifications, but they're not able to get the best paying jobs. And so there's a mismatch, and they're also struggling to make ends meet.
That's disheartening to hear, but unfortunately, it does not surprise me at all. So my follow-up question to you is, what is our strategy for reaching New Yorkers who need better jobs with our programs?
So our workforce strategy in the Adults and Household Supports portfolio is really focused on helping those who have been historically left behind. That includes immigrants, women, communities of color, and those who have been justice involved. Our strategy is really informed by the context in which I described just a while ago in terms of just this disparity. And, we recognize that New Yorkers are facing a lot of poverty. So in general, we support evidence-based models that include skills building, so technical and soft skills, as well as job placement. We look for best-in-class programs that offer wraparound services such as stipends to cover transportation, and then also cover the fact that these folks are giving up work time to actually go to training. So we want to make sure that they are actually reimbursed for that time. Successful program partners have built solid relationships with employers and negotiated strong starting wages. We are often looking for programs that are focused on high growth sectors such as tech, healthcare, and green construction. And let me say that there has been some softening in the construction field, but these are still good jobs where individuals can earn more than minimum wage and can go on to actually move into the middle class and escape poverty.
Understood. I'm wondering if you can help us go a bit deeper. I'd like to understand what your team does day in and day out to reach this population. What specifically does your work look like in interrupting the cycle of low-paying jobs, poor benefits, and limited growth opportunities that too many workers get trapped in?
So we identify and partner with different community organizations that are serving these populations. So we, again, look for organizations that are working with high-need groups. So, for example, I think of NEW, which is non-traditional employment for women. They're a fabulous organization, and they really try to get women into the trades field, right? Learning about construction, and they haven't been represented in the field. Women have not normally had these roles. So getting them on a path where they can actually get an apprenticeship and go on and move forward in their careers. I think what's great about NEW is that they also provide different wraparound services. So it could be transportation, it could be access to tools, right? When someone is just getting started in the field, they need these resources. And, they're doing some great work in piloting a child care initiative. So a small group of individuals have this opportunity to get child care funded. So imagine being able to go on to work and not worrying about where your child is, knowing that they're somewhere safe. They can actually be at a child care center that's located near their job. It just makes life easier for everyone. So it's a good test case to see if this program can actually be scaled and this wraparound service can be shared with more folks.
That's a really fascinating example, Chymeka, because it's so easy to see how something as simple as not having childcare can keep someone stuck in a bad paying or low wage job because they don't have the time to go and access other opportunities.
Definitely.
Tell us about some other interesting partnerships that we've created.
Sure. So our work with Upwardly Global has been great. Really excited about this partnership. We've been funding them for a number of years now. And this group works with individuals who have experience overseas. They're immigrants. They may have their college degree equivalent or certification, and they're not able to find jobs here in the U.S. because they just don't have experience in the United States. And so it's really hard to match them with a job that actually meets their credentials. And so with Upwardly Global, they provide opportunities for individuals to get training, receive additional support so they actually learn how to acclimate to the workforce in America, which can be kind of strange for someone coming from another country, right? Like how to acclimate, how to navigate and win during the interview, sort of like how do you actually close the deal and get that job. And they have been really, really successful in placing individuals in great jobs. So the average pay for folks starts at about $60,000, right? And these individuals may have come to the United States not having a job and maybe have had much difficulty getting into the workforce, or they've gotten a job that keeps them underemployed, right? So imagine someone having experience as a doctor in their home country, but because they don't have the medical experience here, they may have to actually, let's say
work at fast food,
anything, right? To make ends meet. And so this allows them to get the opportunity to get more credentials, build on the skills that they already have, get familiar with what it means to work in the United States. And they may not be doctors, but they may have the opportunity to work in a field that's adjacent.
Right. And to actually provide a living wage for themselves and their families.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're in this critical juncture of a moment in the city. I'm curious what your long-term hope is for some of these programs. And, what do you think it will take in terms of scale, partnership, funding, the other ingredients to navigate this post-pandemic recovery successfully in terms of workforce?
We need all of it. Everything that you said, we need all of that. We definitely need all of that. So we need partners and stakeholders and individuals. And let me also say individuals with lived experience, like they also...
Fascinating.
Yeah, well,
how do we integrate them into this work?
I think it's important that as we're thinking about policy, as we're thinking about program design, that we actually hear from the individuals who are experiencing poverty, that are experiencing the challenges, because they know the barriers better than we do. So it's key to involve them as well. So needing all the stakeholders at the table, I think, is really important. The other thing I would share is, for government, we would love to leverage dollars so that we can take best-in-class programmings to scale, right? Because philanthropy gives lots of money to the field, and Robin Hood is also...
to pilot innovative models, see how it works.
Yes, so we can do that.
Yes.
That's our job, right? To do the piloting. But once the model is set, let's launch it. Let's invest our government dollars to be able to take those to thousands, millions of individuals, and I think that's the exciting part.
I'm sure there are no shortage of inspiring stories of New Yorkers and, whose lives have been touched and impacted by these programs. Are there any that come to mind for you and that really fuel your work as you show up each day at Robin Hood?
Sure. I think about a gentleman that I met at the Upwardly Global Gala. And sitting next to him, I asked him, what was the benefit of being in this program and, how it changed his life. And he talked to me about the fact that, in his job in Jamaica, then he went to London, but he ended up coming to the United States because his mom was sick and he wanted to support her as she was ill, but he couldn't find a great job. And so imagine having admin experience working in government in another country, but not being able to find something here in the U.S. So he struggled with jobs. I think he was taxi driver at one point. I think another point he was doing like sales, like just cold call sales.
Yeah.
And he was like,
call center.
Yeah. He was like, it was terrible. Not even a call center, like just, call sales. He said it was terrible. And then when he was going through the Upwardly Global program, he was able to be matched and get a position at New York Presbyterian Hospital. And he was just starting as like a grants contractor, but he was so excited to have a good wage. And he was just like, it makes such a difference. And he never thought that he would come to the U.S. originally like having experience but not being able to apply it, and then like finally getting to a place where he could actually show up and feel like I have a real job now.
For sure.
So that's one story. And the other is meeting the students of Cooper Union. Many of them are young professionals coming from and fleeing violence in their countries. Many of them were coming from Venezuela, and talked about just challenges there, but they had advanced degrees. They studied engineering and maybe computing, I believe, this one gentleman. And so what I appreciate about them was the enthusiasm that they had, the excitement about being able to get good jobs. And they talked about the struggle, right? Like just what it meant to learn. Like they already knew English, but just like to practice it every day and to actually take classes about it.
Also in a professional setting.
Correct. But also the content was in English. So even though they understood it in their native tongue, but then like, wait, what?
Yes.
It's in English now. So like just the work that they were willing to put in, the excitement they have in terms of matching. And then also the mere fact that they asked me how they could help in the effort. Like if there's anything that they could do to help repay the organization, or, any way they could help Robin Hood with spreading the message. And I was really grateful for that, because someone pinged me on LinkedIn and he just said, how is everything? Can I help you with anything? I'm like, I'm good.
It's beautiful, because it really speaks to this caring community that we're a part of. And when people are touched by our work, they want to make New York City and Robin Hood a better place.
Absolutely.
Chymeka, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been incredibly illuminating, and I wish you nothing but success in reaching these New Yorkers. This is really an investment and a down payment on the future economic stability of New York City, which we all love. Thank you to everyone who's listened in today. For more information about Robin Hood's investments, news, and stories of impact, please visit us at robinhood.org and join us again for another Robin Hood moment.